2,500 years ago, a guy was sitting under a tree asking a big question. Prince Siddhartha spent lots of time looking for answers about why people suffer. Then one night he stopped searching and just looked around. What he found out changed everything. He realized that nothing happens by coincidence, but it's also not just about fate or destiny. He uncovered something much more useful. Everything happens because of reasons and circumstances that you can actually grasp. The tough time you are going through has reasons behind it. The confusion you feel came from certain circumstances, and here's the key point. Once you understand this clearly, you can find something amazing. You find freedom. In the next few hours, we are going to dive into this old wisdom together, not as a set of ideas, but as something you can actually feel in your life right now. If you're comfortable, find a nice spot to relax, somewhere you can just be calm and listen. This is your moment. The web of dependent origination. Think back to the last time something made you upset. Maybe someone said something rude or a plan didn't work out. At that moment, it likely seemed like the problem just popped up out of nowhere, as if life was randomly throwing challenges at you. But what if that's not how things really are? The Buddha discovered something very basic and life-changing that he called the heart of his awakening. He named it pratityasamutpada, or dependent origination. And before you think that sounds tricky, hang with me, because this is the most useful lesson you'll ever learn. In simple terms, it means nothing stands alone. Nothing in your life came about by itself. Everything, every emotion, every situation, every moment of happiness or sadness exists because of reasons and circumstances. Imagine throwing a rock into a calm lake. The second it hits the water, ripples move out in all directions. Those ripples touch the edge of the lake, mix with the wind, and blend with other ripples. Each ripple is both caused by the rock and creates new movements in the water. Your life is like that lake. Every action you take, every word you say, every thought you have, they are like rocks hitting the water. The ripples spread in visible and invisible ways. They connect with many other ripples from many different sources. And from this huge, complex network of reasons and conditions, your experiences come to life. This is not just something poetic. It's not a metaphor for something magical. The Buddha was explaining the real way things work in the world. When the Buddha first shared this idea, he wasn't in a temple giving a big speech. He was having a conversation with a traveler named Katyana, someone who was truly looking for the truth. Katyana had fallen into the same trap many of us face, thinking in black and white. Either things last forever or they don't exist at all. Either we have complete control or none at all. Either everything is important or nothing is. The Buddha looked at him kindly and said something new and important. He mentioned, people usually focus on two opposite things, existence and non-existence. But someone who understands things correctly doesn't get stuck in either of these. They realize that when one thing happens, another follows. When one thing stops, the other stops too. It seems straightforward, almost too straightforward. But there's a deeper meaning in those words that helps explain why your life is the way it is right now. Let's relate this to you personally. The worry you sometimes feel didn't just come out of nowhere. It came from certain situations. Perhaps it was a thought about what's coming next, a memory from earlier, tension in your body, not enough sleep, caffeine, or a talk you had yesterday. None of these caused the anxiety by itself. They came together. When they mixed, anxiety was born. Now here's the key point that changes everything. Since anxiety came from circumstances, it will go away when those circumstances shift. It's not forever. It's not who you are. It's like a changing weather pattern in your mind. The same is true for happiness, peace, and every feeling you've ever experienced. Think of a flower growing in a garden. Did it make itself? No, it needed a seed, but a seed by itself isn't enough. It needed soil, water, sunlight, and the right temperature. It needed the gardener to plant it, the rain that fell, and the earth that held it. It needed many reasons that go back way further than we can see, like how flowering plants evolved, how the earth formed, and light coming from a star that is 93 million miles away. The flower isn't separate from these conditions. It is just those conditions showing up as what we call a flower. You are just like that flower. Everything you think is you, your personality, your reactions, your fears and dreams, came from conditions like your childhood, your culture, the books you've read, the people you've loved, the losses you've faced, the food you've eaten, and the sleep you've gotten. All those conditions lead back through generations and through time itself. This isn't about taking away your choice or making you feel powerless. In fact, it's the opposite. When you understand how things are connected, you realize you have more influence than you realized. It's just not the kind of influence you might think. You can't control the ocean, but you can learn how to navigate it. You can't stop the waves in the water, but you can pick which stones to toss in. Every moment, you're part of this chain of causes. The thoughts you nurture become the way you see the world. The things you say influence how others react to you. The intentions you keep shape how you act. All these create ripples, some that happen right away and some that won't show up for years. Buddha explained that there are different kinds of conditions. Some are like roots, the main causes that lead to effects. Some are like supports, important conditions that you can't do without. Nothing can come from nowhere. Some things act like a direct cause, the last element needed to create something. Think of fire. You need something to burn, that's the basic need. You need air, that's the helpful factor. You need something to ignite it, that's the direct cause. Take any of these away and fire can't happen. Anger is similar. The root might be an old hurt or a belief about how things ought to be. The support could be stress, being tired, or not feeling listened to. The spark might be one remark or a single moment that makes it all explode. Knowing this doesn't make the anger go away right away, but it shows you where to focus your efforts. You can't always change the things life throws at you, but you can eliminate the fuel. You can lessen the helpful factors. And when you do this, even when sparks happen, the fire doesn't start. Here is something the Buddha stressed that often gets overlooked. This isn't just about what you feel personally, everything is connected. Your pain and my pain are not separate. When you are hurting, it causes effects that reach everyone nearby. When you achieve peace, that calmness spreads too. We're not alone islands of awareness. We're part of a complex living network where everything impacts everything else. This is why the Buddha taught that true understanding naturally leads to kindness. When you fully recognize how all things depend on each other, you can't help but realize we are in this together. The line between your pain and my pain begins to fade. The driver who cut you off while driving acted because of certain factors. Maybe they are in a hurry to get to the hospital. Maybe they simply didn't see you. Maybe they're reacting from old habits of anger they picked up when they were young. This doesn't make their action right, but it helps you understand it better. And with that understanding, you're less likely to add your own anger to the situation, creating more waves of pain. The teaching of dependent origination is really a lesson about freedom. When you think things happen by chance, you feel like you're a victim of randomness. When you think everything is already decided by fate or some cosmic plan, you feel powerless. But when you know that everything comes from certain causes and conditions, and that you're always involved in shaping those conditions, you view life differently. You begin to realize that your choices matter, not because they control everything, but because they're part of a larger chain of events. You start to be more mindful of your thoughts, knowing they set the stage for future thoughts. You become more aware of your words, seeing how they influence the world around you. You pay more attention to your actions, recognizing that each one contributes to the bigger picture, and little by little something changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What circumstances led to this?" That question alters everything because it shifts you from feeling like a victim to understanding, from feeling powerless to being proactive. The Buddha didn't figure out dependent origination through logic or philosophy. He noticed it in a way similar to how someone might suddenly see a picture hidden in a complicated artwork. Once you spot it, it stays in your mind. Life stops appearing as just random happenings or a set path and instead shows itself like a moving river full of reasons and situations, always shifting and reacting. Right now, while you are hearing these words, different things are going on. You might feel tired or wide awake. There may be something bothering you or something that makes you happy. You could be by yourself or with other people. All these factors influence how you listen to and understand what is being said. What you get from this moment will affect your future experiences, changing how you view things, forming lingering questions, and opening up new possibilities. You are not just an outsider to this huge network of events and situations. You are a part of it, just like a wave belongs to the ocean. Truly grasping this, understanding it deeply, not just in your mind but in your very being, is the start of gaining wisdom. Because when you realize how everything is connected, you also begin to understand where suffering comes from. That's what we'll talk about next. Annika, the truth of change somewhere. There's a photo, maybe in a drawer or on your phone, of a moment you wished you could keep forever. It could be a time when everything felt perfect, a person you cared about, or a version of yourself you long for. If you're being honest, there's a sadness that hits when you see that picture. It's not just a feeling of nostalgia, it's a deeper sorrow for things that can't come back. The Buddha had a term for this shared experience. He called it impermanence. He said it's one of the 3 key features of everything in existence. This isn't meant to be a depressing idea, but rather a path to freedom. Everything is in constant change, everything. Your body is changing right now as you listen. Old cells are dying, new ones are being created. Your breath goes in and out, never being the same. Your thoughts come and go like clouds floating in the wide sky. The relationships you cherish, the plans you have made, the person you believe you are, every bit of it is flowing, changing, and evolving with each moment. This is not meant to scare you. The Buddha wasn't trying to make life seem pointless or dark. He was highlighting something we often work very hard to ignore, and this ignoring is what leads to our pain. The Buddha used a metaphor that has been used for 25 centuries because it captures such an important truth. You cannot step into the same river twice. Think about it for a moment. A river seems like a single, solid thing. You can identify it, call it the Mississippi or something else. However, a river is really just water that is always moving. The water that was there a moment ago has already flowed downstream and fresh water takes its place. The river is never the same. Even though we call it the same thing, you are like that river. Do you think the person you were 10 years ago is still the same? Your body has made new cells, your ideas are not the same, your beliefs have changed. Your life experiences have turned you into a different person, and yet we say we are the same person. We imagine that we have a solid identity that never changes, but in reality, things are constantly moving. This isn't just a deep thought, it's something we can see in our daily lives. The issue isn't that change happens. Change is just how life is. The real problem is that we wish things would stay the same. We try to hold on to moments, wanting to freeze them in time. We become attached to people, scared that we might lose them. We stick to our ideas of how life should go. When reality doesn't match our wishes, we end up feeling unhappy. The Buddha explained that this holding on to things, this wanting things to last in a world where everything changes, is the reason for our pain and suffering. It's like trying to keep water in your hand. The more you try to hold it tightly, the more it will escape. The more you try to hold on, the more you will feel hurt. There's a story from the Buddha's monks about a young mother named Kisa Gautami. She lived in a small village and her baby boy was everything to her. She devoted all her love, hope, and dreams to him. Then one day her son got sick and just a few hours later he died in her arms. Kisa Gautami couldn't accept that her child was gone. She couldn't believe it. She carried his little body through the village, going from door to door, asking for a medicine that could bring him back to life. People felt sorry for her and looked at her with sympathy, but no one could help. At last, someone mentioned, "There's a teacher named Buddha, maybe he can help you." So Kisa Gautami went to see the Buddha, still holding her lifeless child. She knelt at his feet and begged, "Please give me medicine to heal my son." The Buddha looked at her with great kindness. He didn't tell her that her son was dead or lecture her about letting go. Instead, he kindly said, "I can help you, but first you must find me a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no one has ever died." Kisa Gautami felt a spark of hope. This sounded easy. She went from house to house asking for mustard seeds. At the first house they quickly offered her some seeds, but she asked, "Has anyone in your family ever passed away?" "Yes, sadly," they replied. "We lost our grandmother last year." She moved on to the next house and the next. Everywhere she went, people were eager to give her mustard seeds. But in every single home someone had died, a father, a sister, a child, a dear friend. As the sun went down, Kisa Gautami finally realized the truth. She found a peaceful spot and laid her son down to rest. Then she went back to the Buddha, and this time her expression was different. The frantic sadness was gone, replaced by a calm understanding. "I couldn't find a single home that wasn't touched by death," she said quietly. The Buddha nodded in response. "You believed you were alone in your sorrow, but death is a part of life for everyone. This is how life works. The people we care about and even ourselves are all affected by change, aging, and death. Nobody can avoid this truth." In that moment of deep sorrow, Kisa Gautami discovered something surprising. Not the end of her sadness, but a kind of peace inside it, a realization that her pain wasn't just hers, but something all humans experience together. She joined the Buddha's followers, and it is said that she eventually attained great freedom. Now, hear us what many don't get about change. They think the Buddha was telling us to prepare for loss, to brace ourselves for sadness, or to become distant from life. But that's not true at all. Understanding change isn't about caring less. It's about being fully aware of what's happening right now, especially because it won't last forever. There is a lesson from Zen Buddhism about trees in the fall. Notice a tree as autumn arrives. Its leaves change into beautiful colors like gold, red, and amber, a final burst of beauty before they fall. The tree doesn't try to hold on to its leaves. It doesn't suffer as they fall one by one. It doesn't fight to keep summer or stop winter from coming. The tree simply lets go, and in that letting go there is a kind of beauty. The leaves fall and the tree stands bare yet beautiful in its own way. Then spring arrives and new leaves grow. Not the same leaves, but fresh life coming from the same trunk and roots. This is how life flows. Nothing stays the same, but nothing is truly lost either. Everything changes. When you really grasp the idea of change, not just in your mind but in your experiences, it impacts how you connect with everything. You stop taking moments for granted. That ordinary Tuesday morning with coffee and sunlight pouring through the window becomes special because you know it won't happen again. The people you care about become even more special, not less, because you realize your time with them is limited and therefore valuable. You also stop desperately hanging on to happy times, trying to make them last forever. You learn to enjoy them fully while they're happening, then let them go when they're gone, like gently holding a butterfly in your hand, appreciating its beauty without trying to keep it, knowing it will fly away, and that's perfectly all right. Most importantly, you start to have a different view of tough times. When you're facing something painful, the idea of change becomes a comfort. This will also change. This too will pass. Pass, not because you are ignoring the hurt or acting like it doesn't matter, but because you realize that it won't last forever, doesn't stay the same, and is not the final answer about who you are or what your life is all about. The Buddha said that there are three things that describe all of life. The first is impermanence. Everything that starts will eventually end. Everything that comes together will break apart. Every new beginning will have an ending. This isn't being negative, it's actually freeing. If everything is not permanent, then your pain is also not permanent. Your fears aren't permanent. Your confusion, your hurt, and your feeling of being stuck can all change. Nothing can define you forever because nothing lasts forever. Right now, in this very moment, you can practice understanding this truth. Pay attention to your breath. It comes in and then goes out, and that breath is gone. It will never come back. Then another breath comes along. It's a different breath at a different time. Your body is very familiar with the idea of impermanence. Each breath is like a tiny death and rebirth. Now notice your thoughts. A thought comes to mind, such as worrying about tomorrow or remembering something from yesterday. You don't need to push it away, just observe it. It appeared out of nowhere, and if you don't give it attention, it will fade back into nothingness. Then another thought will come up in its place. Thoughts are like changing weather patterns moving through the sky of your awareness. Even this moment of listening has already passed. The words you heard a few seconds ago are gone. New words are coming in. The person you were when you started reading this chapter isn't quite the same as the person you are now listening. Something has changed. Even if it's just a little, that's impermanence happening at this very moment. The Buddha didn't teach about impermanence to make you feel sad. He taught it to help you wake up so you can stop wasting your energy fighting against reality. He wanted to show you that freedom isn't about making things last forever, but about learning to move with change. He revealed that what you've been trying to avoid, the constant changes and transformations, can actually lead you to peace. When you stop insisting that life should stay the same, you can finally appreciate the life that is happening now. And this brings us to something very important. If everything is not permanent, if there's nothing real to hold on to, what does that mean for you? What about that feeling of I that feels very true and lasting? This idea is where things get even more interesting. Karma, the law of cause and effect. Have you ever seen someone who seems to escape all the consequences? They lie, manipulate others, and hurt people, yet they seem to do well. Meanwhile, when you try to act right, life feels really hard. It can make you wonder if anything matters at all. This is where many people get karma wrong compared to other Buddhist ideas. We think karma is like keeping score in the universe, where good people are rewarded and bad people are punished. We say things like karma will catch up to them, or that's really bad karma, like some judges watching everything. But that's not what the Buddha meant at all. Karma just means action. More specifically, it means intentional action. The Buddha used the word sattva, which means intention, the driving thought behind what you do. He shared something important. It's not the action itself that makes karma, it's the intention behind the action. This changes a lot. Two people can do exactly the same thing, say the same words, or make the same gesture, but create completely different karma because their intentions are different. One person helps someone because they truly care, while another person helps to get something in return to look great or because they feel guilty. Even though the action looks the same, the karmic effect is totally different. The Buddha explained that karma works in three ways: body, speech, and mind. Among these, the mind is the most important because every action of the body and speech starts with a thought. When you say mean things, that creates karma, but that karma started in your mind before you spoke. In a moment of anger, when you want to hurt someone or protect yourself, whether you're helping someone or pushing past them in a crowded area, the karma lies in the intention behind that action. That's why the Buddha said you can create karma even without moving or speaking. A thought of real compassion creates karma, and even a moment of hate, even if you never show it, creates karma. Everything starts in the mind. There's a story that doesn't get told often, but it explains this well. Back in the Buddha's time, during a big celebration at a temple, rich merchants and noble people showed up, each trying to outshine the others with their gifts. They brought fancy golden and silver lamps filled with the best oils, making tall, bright flames. Each person shouted about their gift, wanting everyone to see how generous they were. As the night went on, a poor woman showed up. She had very little. She spent her last coins on a tiny, simple lamp made of clay filled with just enough oil for a small flame. She felt shy about how her small offering looked very small compared to the beautiful lamps around the Buddha. Still, she stepped forward and put her little lamp among the many others, then bowed deeply. As she did this, she felt a deep sense of loyalty and devotion in her heart. She didn't care about being noticed or getting compliments. She wasn't comparing herself to anyone else. She was just giving what she could with true honesty, hoping that everyone could discover wisdom and light. When the ceremony finished, everyone went home. The next day, the monks came to remove the lamps. One by one, all the fancy, expensive lamps had gone out during the night, but the poor woman's small lamp was still shining brightly and steadily. The Buddha smiled when he learned about this. He told his followers that the size of what you give doesn't matter. What really counts is the honesty of your feelings behind it. The rich people had given to show off and to be recognized. The poor woman had given because she truly cared. Her tiny lamp had more value than all the golden lamps put together. This is karma, which isn't just a cosmic scorecard recording the worth of your good actions. It's not about punishment or rewards, but rather the natural result of your intentions showing up in your actions. Think about this in your own life. When you help someone because you really want to lighten their load, how does it feel for you? You might feel a warmth inside and a sense of openness. Even if that person never thanks you and nobody sees your kindness, you still feel more relaxed and at peace. That's karma showing its effects right away. However, if you help someone while feeling annoyed or because you feel pressured or because you expect something in return, pay attention to how you feel inside. You might sense stress, irritation, or a heavy feeling. You might be helping on the outside, but your inside feelings are uncomfortable. That's also karma. The Buddha made it clear that karma isn't about fate or what's meant to be. Yes, your past behaviors have shaped your current situation. But right now, in this instant, you are making new karma. You are planting new seeds for the future. These seeds will influence what happens next. The past can affect the present, but it doesn't trap you. This is very empowering when you truly grasp it. You may not be able to change what happened yesterday or even last year. You can't take back the karma you've already made, but in this moment you have the power to choose your intentions, your actions, and the seeds you want to plant. If you often feel angry, you may have noticed that anger tends to repeat itself. Anger can become a habit and your mind may just react without thinking. That's karma in action. Every moment of anger makes the next moment of anger more likely. But it's not set in stone. The instant you recognize what's happening and decide to do something different, even if just once, you're creating a new situation, a new chance. The same applies to any routine in your life. Why do you keep ending up in the same kinds of situations or relationships that end similarly or facing similar issues at work? It's not because the universe is against you or because you have bad luck. It's because you have habits and ways of reacting that keep leading to the same results. The Buddha referred to these as sankhara, which means mental patterns that determine how you see and handle life. They are like grooves in a trail that water easily flows into. More often, water gets directed that way the deeper that groove gets. But you can make new grooves, you can change the direction. This is why the Buddha stressed being aware of the present moment. This is where your actions create karma, not in the past, which is already gone, not in the future, which isn't here yet, but in this moment, in how you focus your intention and attention. When you are truly aware of what's going on in your mind, you can choose how to react instead of just responding without thinking. You can notice when anger starts to rise, and instead of reacting right away, there's a pause where you can think wisely. That pause is where freedom exists. It's key to realize that karma doesn't always show results quickly. Some actions create immediate responses while others may take years or even several lifetimes to bear fruit, according to Buddhist teachings. This explains why it can feel unfair at times. People who do harmful things might seem to be successful while good people may have a hard time. But the Buddha taught that karma develops in its own timing, depending on many factors. You don't need to stress about trying to keep track or compute the karmic results of your life. That would be tiring and meaningless. Instead, the process is easier. Focus on your intentions. Pay attention to what drives your actions. Are you motivated by greed, anger, or confusion, or by kindness, empathy, and wisdom? That's all that truly matters. There's a lovely saying in the Dharmapada, which is a collection of the Buddha's lessons. It says, "Mind comes before everything. Mind is what's important. Everything is made by the mind." Your intentions are forming your world right now in both small and significant ways. Take a moment. Just pause here with me. Think of one intention you are holding in this moment. It could be as simple as wanting to understand something, wishing for peace, or maybe feeling frustrated, hopeful, or tired. Just notice that intention. Don't judge it or try to change it. Just look at it clearly. That intention, whatever it may be, is karma coming together. It's setting up what will happen next in the moments that follow. Here's the amazing part. Just by seeing it clearly, you've already altered it. Awareness in itself changes karma. The Buddha taught that understanding karma does not mean you need to be overly cautious or paranoid about every thought and action you have. Action. It's not about being perfect all the time or never slipping up. It's about growing a way of thinking where you are more aware of why you do things and getting better at connecting those reasons with what is good, leading to less pain for yourself and others. This is useful knowledge for everyday life. It means that the next time you are about to talk, take a quick pause to think about your reasons. Are you speaking to prove a point or to help out? Are you acting out of fear or understanding? Are you trying to grab something for yourself or give something to others? These little moments of reflection are actually very important. They help you slowly change the overall direction of your life. The amazing thing about karma is that it's never too late to make changes. No matter what you have done before or what habits you have formed, this moment is a fresh start. This moment brings a chance to make a new decision. The choices you make now will lead to new outcomes. What do you want to nurture? Because karma is not just fate, it's about choices. It is the rule that shows your decisions matter. Your intentions have power and you can always make a change. Not someday, not after everything is perfect, but right now in how aware you are in this moment. And speaking of this moment, there's something else that the Buddha clearly understood. It's about the person making all these choices and having these intentions. When you truly see this, it changes everything. Let's take a second to pause. Feel your body wherever you are sitting or standing right now. Pay attention to your breath. Just take one deep breath in and then let it out completely. What the Buddha taught next explains why we suffer and, more importantly, how we can find our way to freedom. Tana, the main source of pain, there is a type of suffering that doesn't come from getting hurt physically. It's the pain of wanting something that you can't have. It's the worry of trying to hold on to something that's fading away. It's that uneasy feeling that this moment or this life isn't enough. The Buddha had a term for this. He called it tanha, which often means craving or desire, and he recognized it as the main reason people suffer. This is the second noble truth, and it's important to understand it deeply because it explains our pain and points us to freedom. Tanha isn't just about wanting something. It's a deeper need, a constant desire to move away from what is real to what we wish could be. It's about a mind that is never fully happy, always searching and grabbing, always trying to change life to be more comfortable. The Buddha talked about three kinds of craving. The first is the desire for sensory pleasure. It's the attraction to anything that feels good. This includes not just obvious things like tasty food or comfy places, but also enjoyable experiences, kind words, beautiful sights, anything that gives you a quick sense of happiness. Wanting these pleasures isn't wrong or bad, but take note of what happens when you get what you want. You desire, the happiness you feel doesn't last. Before long you feel hungry again, restless once more, wanting the next thing. Imagine enjoying your favorite dish. The first few bites might taste amazing, but by the time you finish, the joy has already faded. You're full, but your desire doesn't go away. It just changes into something else. Maybe now you want dessert, or you're already thinking about what you want tomorrow. This kind of craving can never be completely fulfilled because enjoyable feelings don't stick around. That's why buying things usually doesn't lead to long-lasting happiness. You want something like new clothes or a better phone or a nicer place to live. You think that getting it will make you happy, and for a little while maybe it does. But soon that excitement fades and your mind is already looking for the next thing to want. It's not bad to have nice things. The problem is thinking they will give you lasting happiness is like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. Next, there's the craving for existence. It's the strong desire to be, to grow, to establish who you are. This is what drives ambition, the need for recognition, and the endless task of creating and keeping an identity. You want to be successful, respected, loved, and remembered. Again, wanting to grow or achieve isn't wrong, but often underneath, there is anxiousness, a fear that without these things you won't matter. This kind of craving can show up in subtle ways. Wanting to be right in a disagreement isn't just about the truth. It's about keeping up an image of being smart or knowledgeable. Feeling uncomfortable when someone doesn't acknowledge what you've done isn't just about fairness. It's about the need to be noticed, to exist in other people's minds. We're always working hard to build up this idea of who we are. Even though Buddha taught that this quest causes suffering, notice how much effort goes into protecting your image. You dress a certain way, speak a certain way, and carefully manage what others see about you. You feel stressed when that image is at risk. You feel happy when it's supported. All of this is a craving to exist. It's the desperate need to be someone stable and lasting in a world that's always changing. Finally, and maybe most subtly, there's craving for non-existence. It's the wish to escape, to not be, to make painful things go away. This often shows up as trying to avoid numbing yourself or desperately wanting pain to stop. Sometimes it's a straightforward thought like, I just want this to end. Other times it's more subtle, like distracting yourself from tough feelings, rushing past the present time toward a hopeful future where things seem better. You can see this craving in how we deal with boredom or discomfort. The moment something feels unpleasant or boring, we grab our phones, turn on the TV, eat something, or do anything to run away from the discomfort. Present experience, we often wish that this moment, this feeling, and this reality simply didn't exist. This desire to escape from what we feel also shows up in how we view parts of ourselves that we dislike. For instance, I might wish I wasn't so nervous. I dislike being this way. I want that part of me to fade away. However, as the saying goes, what we try to avoid continues to stick around. Trying to get rid of parts of your life only gives them more strength. All three types of craving are similar. They all push against reality as it truly is. The Buddha wasn't suggesting that we shouldn't enjoy nice things, set goals, or seek relief from suffering. He was highlighting something deeper. When we desperately try to hold on to good experiences or push away bad ones, we create a struggle between what is real and what we want instead. There's a lesson from the Thai forest teacher Ajahn Chah that illustrates this well. He would lift a beautiful glass and say, I really like this glass. It holds water perfectly and the light shines beautifully through it. But in my mind, I see this glass is already broken. His students would look puzzled because the glass looked perfectly fine in his hand. He would go on to explain that while he appreciates the glass now, he knows that someday, whether it's soon or far in the future, it might slip and break. By understanding this, he can enjoy the glass in the moment without suffering from desperately trying to hold on to it. And when it does eventually break, he can accept it, saying, of course, this is true love without being attached. This doesn't mean you stop caring or become cold. Instead, it means you can cherish things lightly, keeping your hands open instead of tightly closed. You can enjoy the glass or a relationship or a happy moment knowing that they won't last forever, and that's perfectly fine. The lesson about the already broken glass applies to all areas of your life. Your health is not perfect. Aging is happening right now. Your relationships are always changing. Every chat you have alters something. Each day brings different challenges. Even who you see yourself as is constantly changing moment by moment. When you clearly see this, you can truly enjoy what you have without that desperate need that turns gratitude into worry. The distinction between love and selfish attachment is subtle but really important. Love means, I care about you, I want your happiness, I value our relationship. Attachments mean, I need you to stay exactly the same forever because without you I won't be okay. Love allows space and freedom. Attachment is tight, anxious, and controlling. You can sense the difference in your body. When you're with someone you love without being attached, it feels easy, open, and appreciative. But when you are holding on too tightly, there's a sense of tightness, fear of losing them, and the need for constant reassurance. Are they still there? Do they still care? Will this last? The same goes for everything in life. You can try to reach your goals without being tied to certain results. You can value your health without being scared of getting older. You can savor the present moment without trying hard to make it last forever. Think about your life right now. What are you holding on to? Maybe it's a relationship you fear losing. Perhaps it's a certain image of yourself you want to keep up. It could be a situation you're really trying to change or one you're afraid to let go of, worried about what might come next. Can you feel that grip? It often feels like tightness in your chest, restlessness in your thoughts, or the sense of leaning in or pulling back instead of being fully present. The Buddha taught that this grasping is the real issue, not the thing you're trying to hold on to. You could have everything you want and craving would just find something else to latch onto. You could lose it all and craving would just wish for things to be different. The things may change, but the grasping stays the same. That's why trying to make everything around you perfect will never give you lasting peace. As long as there's desire, there's pain. It's not just because you can't have what you want, but because wanting creates a gap between you and reality. And inside that gap, suffering exists. But here's the important part, craving is not your true self. It's a habit formed by certain situations. And like everything that has been formed, it can be recognized, understood, and let go. When you notice craving as it happens, right in that moment, before you get caught up in its story or let it lead you, something changes. There's a space between the craving and how you react to it. In that space, you can find freedom. You don't have to fight against craving or feel bad for having it. Just observe it clearly. There's the desire. There's that urge for something nice. There's the resistance to what's happening. Just seeing it clearly is enough. It makes the grip a bit looser. The Buddha wasn't telling you to get rid of all your desires or to act emotionless. He wanted you to see how much pain you create by holding on too tightly and to find the peace that comes when you embrace life fully without that desperate need to cling. You can still prefer health over sickness, friendship over loneliness, and comfort over struggle, but you don't have to hold those preferences so tightly that life becomes a source of constant worry. This understanding is a huge relief because it shows that your peace doesn't depend on getting everything you want or steering clear of what you fear. It depends on how you deal with wanting and fearing, and that's something you can actually work on. This brings us to a deeper idea. If craving causes suffering, we need to explore suffering itself more closely. The refining fire of dukkha, the Buddha said something groundbreaking about pain that most spiritual teachings don't address: avoid. He never said he would take it away. He didn't claim that people who have awakened don't go through tough times. What he meant was this: there is pain and then there is suffering, and they are not the same thing. Dukkha is the word that usually gets translated to suffering, but it means more than just that. It covers clear forms of suffering like pain, loss, and sadness, but it also includes the unease that can even show up during good times. The feeling that things don't really settle and the quiet stress of trying to keep everything under control. The first noble truth is straightforward. Dukkha exists. Life has its hardships. Your body gets older, becomes ill, and eventually dies. You lose loved ones. Things don't always go the way you planned. Even happy moments carry a hint that they won't last forever. This isn't about being negative, it's being truthful. The Buddha aimed to help you save energy by not pretending that pain shouldn't happen or thinking you can always be comfortable if you just set things up perfectly. Many of us believe without questioning that life should be easy, that suffering isn't supposed to happen, and if we feel pain, something is off. But the Buddha said no, dukkha is part of living in this world. It's not a glitch, it's just how it is. Realizing this doesn't mean you're being negative. It means you're being realistic, which is key to finding true peace. There's a lesson from the Salatha Sutta, which is the Sutra of the Arrow, that explains this really well. The Buddha said, when an untrained person feels pain, it's like being hit by an arrow. Then since they don't grasp what is happening, they hit themselves with a second arrow by worrying about the pain, feeling angry about it, and telling themselves stories about how unfair it is. They spiral into anxiety about what could happen next or regrets about what happened in the past. So they suffer two times, once from the immediate pain and then again from how they react to it. But a trained person feels the first arrow and recognizes it. They experience physical or emotional pain but don't add the second layer of resistance and dramatic thoughts. Yes, the pain hurts, but it isn't made worse by extra layers of suffering over the pain. Consider the last time you had physical pain, maybe a headache or back pain after sitting for too long. The actual sensation has a certain feeling and strength, but pay attention to how much your mind adds to it. This shouldn't be happening. Why is this happening now? What if it gets worse? I really dislike this. All of that is the second arrow. The same thing goes for emotional pain. When sadness comes up, that is the first arrow. Then the thoughts come in. I shouldn't feel this way. There's something wrong with me. Does this mean I'm broken? Will this sadness never end? You end up suffering over your suffering, and that second layer usually hurts even more than the original feeling. The Buddha's lesson isn't about getting rid of the first arrow. That part of life is part of being human, means living in a body that feels things and going through a life that keeps changing. The lesson is about not hurting yourself more than you have to, and here's where things become really fascinating. He explained that pain has a reason. Not in a mysterious way like everything happens for a purpose, but in a very real and helpful way. It helps you wake up. When life is easy and everything is smooth, it's simple to just go with the flow, not question anything or think deeply about how you're living. But when something hurts, when something falls apart, when you face tough times, you suddenly start to pay attention. Suddenly, you want to understand what's really happening. The Buddha is a good example of this. He was a prince who lived in luxury, shielded from challenges, but that comfort kept him from seeing the truth. It wasn't until he encountered sickness, aging, and death and faced tough times directly that his spiritual path started. His pain was the spark that woke him up. There's a Zen story about a butterfly trying to break free from its cocoon. Someone watching felt sorry for the butterfly and decided to help by carefully cutting the cocoon open. The butterfly got out easily, but its wings were weak and tiny. It never learned how to fly. Struggling to break through the cocoon is what helps push fluid into its wings, giving them the strength they need. Without that struggle, the butterfly can't become what it is meant to be. Your challenges work in a similar way. Not every hardship is necessary. The Buddha didn't think pain was good. But the challenges you do face, especially the ones you can't escape, can help you grow stronger in ways that comfort can't. Every time you face a tough situation without falling apart or running away, you are building your strength. You are realizing that you can handle discomfort without it ruining you. You're finding out you have strengths you didn't know existed. You're gaining wisdom that comes from real experiences. The Buddha taught that suffering has 3 clear types, and it's important to understand all 3. The first is called dukkha, the everyday kind of suffering. This includes pain, loss, and sadness, which everyone recognizes. It could be a toothache, the death of a loved one, being physically sick, or feeling really sad. This is the first arrow we mentioned, the unavoidable hurt that comes with being human. The second is viparina magika, which is the suffering that comes from change. Even good things don't last forever, and their temporary nature can leave us feeling a bit dissatisfied. You might finally get what you wanted, but either feel let down or worry that you might lose it. A beautiful sunset is mixed with the thought that it's already fading away. A happy moment holds the seeds of its own ending. This isn't about being negative, it's about clearly seeing that joy based on things that can change will never bring true satisfaction. Think about what it's like to fall in love. At first, it seems like everything is amazing and magical. But under all that happiness, there's often a small worry. Will this last forever? What if they change into someone else? What if I end up losing them? That worry is called viparinamadukkha. It's the pain that comes from knowing that everything that happens can change. Next is sankhara dukkha. This means the suffering that comes from just being alive. This type of suffering is very subtle but also deep. Everything that happens because of different factors has a feeling of dissatisfaction because it doesn't last and isn't really in our control. Even when things seem okay and nothing is obviously wrong, there is still this feeling that something is missing or not quite enough. The Buddha didn't say that reaching enlightenment means you will never feel pain again. Instead, he said you would learn to see pain in a different way. You would understand it as something that changes, not a solid part of your life. You would stop making it a big deal or letting it become who you are. There's a big difference between saying I am suffering and saying suffering is happening. The first statement makes suffering seem like a permanent part of your identity. The second acknowledges it as something temporary, like a weather change. When you are going through a tough time and perhaps you are now, this idea might seem pointless, but hang in there. Can you notice the difference between how you feel and all the thoughts you have about those feelings? Can you find the first feeling without mixing it up with the second? Knowing this does not make you immune to pain, but it changes how you relate to it. Instead of viewing problems as proof that something is wrong with you or your life, you begin to see them as just part of life. Everyone goes through this, and it's not just about you. When pain doesn't feel personal and it's not a challenge that needs to be solved before you can be happy, something amazing happens. The pain will still hurt, but there is space around it. You can breathe. In that space, you realize you are bigger than any pain you are dealing with. The tough experience of dukkha helps to clear away what is not true. It burns away the stories, identities, and the certainties you thought were necessary. What's left is more real, stronger, and freer. Think of it like this: gold gets cleaned through fire. The heat doesn't destroy the gold, it gets rid of the bad parts, showing what was always underneath. Dukkha acts the same way in your life. It removes what isn't important or real, leaving behind only the truth. But this doesn't mean you should go looking for pain or be happy when it arrives. The Buddha's lessons are about finding balance, which leads us to one of his main teachings. The middle way, neither holding on nor running away. Before the Buddha became who he is, he was a seeker named Siddhartha. He tried everything to find freedom. He lived in a very harsh way, hardly eating and pushing his body to the limit, thinking that punishing himself would help him find the truth. The body would set the spirit free. After 6 years of this, he became very thin, weak, and still didn't understand. One day, while sitting by a river, he heard a boat going by. On that boat, a music teacher was helping a student learn how to tune a string instrument. "If you pull the string too tight, it'll snap," said the teacher. "If it is too loose, it won't make sound." Something clicked for Siddhartha. He understood that he had been living too much at either end of the spectrum. First, he had enjoyed luxury in the palace, and then he faced tough conditions in the forest. Neither way gave him true freedom. The answer had to be somewhere in the middle. He took some food from a girl in the village, became stronger again, and then sat under a tree to practice a new way of doing things. He wasn't forcing anything nor ignoring it. He was trying to find balance. That night he had an awakening. In his very first lesson after finding enlightenment, he talked about this middle way. He said to stay away from two extremes on the path to spirituality. One is chasing pleasure and satisfying the senses, thinking happiness comes from getting everything you desire. The other is being too strict with yourself, thinking you can only be happy by rejecting your desires. Both ways miss the mark. The middle way isn't about a compromise between the two extremes. It's about understanding that both extremes are the issue. It's a whole new way to experience things. Instead of gripping tightly or pushing things away, it's about meeting experiences with clear understanding and the right response. This concept appears everywhere in life. Consider how you deal with your own mind and feelings. One extreme is getting overwhelmed by them. You believe every thought, act on every impulse, and feel totally caught up in every feeling that comes up. The other extreme is trying to push everything down, avoiding uncomfortable feelings, ignoring what you feel, and trying to rise above being human through sheer will. The middle way is not about drowning in feelings or trying to hide them. It's feeling your emotions without letting them control you. You notice your thoughts without assuming they are all true. You experience feelings without letting them dictate all your actions. There's space in the middle where you can be completely human and aware at the same time. There's a Zen story about a monk who lived by the sea. One day, while watching swimmers battle against the waves, he saw something interesting. Those who fought against the waves got very tired and didn't make much progress. Those who gave up completely were pulled away by the waves. But those who understood the water, who worked with some waves, dove under others, and used the current's strength while keeping their direction, moved through the water smoothly. Life is like that ocean. You can't control the waves. Fighting them wears you out. Giving up entirely leaves you at their mercy. But there's a third way. It's about learning to deal with what happens, responding wisely, and finding your path without exhausting yourself by resisting or losing yourself by being too passive. The middle way needs good judgment, knowing when to take action and when to let it be. Sometimes the smart thing to do is to change things you have control over. Other times it's about accepting things that you can't change. The skill is figuring out which is which, yet this isn't always easy or clear. There's wisdom in the saying that goes, "Give me peace to accept what I can't change, bravery to change what I can, and the smarts to know the difference." This understanding, knowing what you can change and what you cannot, is what the middle way teaches us. Buddha talked about a thing called right effort, which is part of the 8 steps to a good life. Right effort doesn't mean pushing yourself hard all the time or forcing your way through everything. It means using your energy in the right way. Sometimes that means taking strong actions. Other times it's about being patiently gentle. At times it's just about letting things happen naturally without getting in the way. In Buddhist lessons, right effort has 4 key parts. The first part is about stopping bad feelings or thoughts before they even start. This isn't about pushing things down, but rather making sure you're not creating situations that lead to greed, anger, or confusion. The second part is about letting go of negative feelings that have already popped up. It's not about forcing them out, but rather understanding them and moving on. The third part is about building good feelings or thoughts that you haven't created yet. This means actively growing qualities like kindness, awareness, and wisdom. The fourth part is about keeping and strengthening the good feelings you already have. Think about healing from an injury. If you rest too much, your muscles get weak. If you do too much, you might hurt yourself again. Healing means finding a balance. You need to rest enough to heal, but also move around enough to keep your strength. It's about noticing what you need each day. Emotional and spiritual healing works similarly. You can't just force yourself to get over sadness or pain, but you also can't stay stuck in it without an end. There's a balance of feeling what you need to feel while still living your life, recognizing your pain but not letting it define you completely. The middle way isn't just sitting back or being indifferent, it's actually quite active. It consistently adapts and responds to what's happening around you. It's like riding a bike, you're always making little adjustments to keep yourself upright, never completely still but also not falling over. In meditation, this idea becomes clear. If you try too hard to focus, you end up feeling tense and your mind will resist. If you don't try at all, you may drift off to sleep or lose your focus. The middle way in meditation is about being alert but relaxed, paying attention without straining, a kind of effortless concentration that comes with practice. Buddha gave another example for this. He said, right effort is like carrying a bowl full of oil that's filled to the top. You need to walk carefully so you don't spill it, but you shouldn't be so stiff that you trip. Too much effort tightens you up and too little makes you careless. The middle way is about being present and aware without feeling strained. Right now, no matter where you are in life, you can practice this. Pay attention to whether you are leaning too much towards one extreme or the other. Are you pushing too hard, trying to rush something that needs time, or are you avoiding taking action? Do you have something important on your mind? Are you trying to grab onto what you want, or are you trying to escape what scares you? The middle ground can be tough because it doesn't give you the fake comfort of knowing what's going to happen. Grabbing onto things feels like you're taking action. Trying to avoid things feels like you're keeping yourself safe. But being in the middle, where you're open and aware, requires you to accept not knowing, trust that things will work out, and stay present without trying to control everything. This brings us to why you keep ending up in the same situations and facing the same issues. It's because there's a cycle happening. Until you really see it, you'll keep going in circles. When patterns repeat S, a letter 1E43S, a macron R, in daily life, have you seen how the same issues keep appearing in new ways, with different people in different situations, but they feel the same at heart? The Buddha called this samsara, which is about repeating patterns. We often talk about it in terms of being reborn in different lives, but it also helps us understand why you might feel stuck in certain patterns in your life. You don't have to believe in reincarnation to see samsara in your everyday life. It might even be happening moment by moment. You have the same reactions, tell the same stories, and respond the same way to stress or relationships over and over. This isn't your fault, and it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's just how our minds work. The Buddha spoke about sankhara, which means mental habits and patterns that get deeply rooted in how you behave. Think of these like trails in a forest. The more you walk the same path, the easier it becomes to follow until you hardly think about it. Your thinking, feeling, and behaving habits are similar. Maybe you always react to criticism by getting defensive. Maybe you withdraw when there's a fight. Maybe you find yourself repeating the same issues in different relationships. Or maybe you mess things up for yourself whenever things start going well. These things don't happen by chance. They are learned responses from past experiences that keep coming back because you repeat them. Each time you respond the same way, you make that pattern stronger, making it even more likely that you'll react that way again. In Buddhism, this idea is shown as a wheel called the bakra. In the center of this wheel, there are three animals: a pig that stands for ignorance, a snake for aversion, and a rooster for craving. These three keep you stuck in the same situations repeatedly. Ignorance means not seeing things clearly and acting on autopilot, not understanding what your choices lead to, and not recognizing the patterns you keep going through. It's like walking through life with blinders on, making the same choices over and over without seeing the impact. Aversion means pushing away what feels uncomfortable, running from tough emotions, avoiding important talks, and denying what's real because it's too painful to face. But what you try to ignore doesn't just go away, it keeps coming back in different ways until you finally confront it. Craving is wanting something that feels good. It's like always trying to get the next dose of pleasure or approval. You think happiness is just a step away if you can grab what you desire. However, feeling satisfied from getting what you crave doesn't last long. So the same cycle keeps happening. Think about whether this pattern sounds like something you've experienced. Something happens that bothers you, like a little criticism or a letdown. Right away, without even thinking about it, your usual reaction kicks in. You might get defensive and snap at someone. Then you feel bad for reacting that way, which makes you react even more. Soon you find yourself stuck in a loop, and before you know it, you've created the very problem or distance you were trying to steer clear of. That's samsara happening in real life. The Buddha used a powerful image that you can find in old texts. He said going back to old habits of suffering is like a dog going back to its own throw-up. It's a tough picture, but it's true. We know some thoughts or actions make us unhappy, yet we keep going back to them almost without thinking. Why do we do this? It's because the pattern feels safe even if it hurts. We don't really notice how bad it is while we're in it. Plus, the brief relief or satisfaction we get from following that pattern keeps us from seeing the long-term effects. The Buddha also talked about something called papannika, which means mental growth. This is where one thought leads to 10 more, and those lead to 100. You may start worrying about something, then worry about worrying, and even worry about always worrying. One angry thought can pull up memories of past wrongs, dreams of revenge, or thoughts about yourself for being mad. Before long, you are stuck in a mental mess that began with just one little trigger. Getting away from samsara takes what the Buddha called right understanding. You need to see clearly how these patterns work. You have to understand the chain of causes and effects that keep them going. Here is how the chain goes. Ignorance causes patterns to form, which shapes your awareness, leading to certain views, which creates contact with experiences, which causes feelings, which makes you crave things, which results in grasping, which leads to becoming, and finally to more suffering. Then it loops back around. But here's the important part: you can stop this chain at any point. You don't have to let it keep going. The moment you realize what is happening, like saying, "Oh, this is that same pattern again," you create space. In that awareness, you have a choice. You are no longer on autopilot. The old way is still there, worn in and familiar, but now you can see it. And by seeing it, you can choose to do something different. This doesn't mean the pattern is going to disappear quickly. Those habits are deeply set, but each time you make a different choice, you weaken the old habit and make room for a new one. You are changing how you react, creating new routes through the forest. The Buddha taught that being free from samsara is not about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about having clear vision, making smart choices, and not getting stuck in the same old patterns. It's about gaining wisdom from our experiences instead of just going through the motions. The key to all of this, gaining clarity, breaking old habits, and finding freedom, is simply being present. Sati, the practice of presence. Everything we've talked about emphasizes one main idea: being fully here in the moment. The Buddha referred to this as sati, which often means mindfulness or awareness. But it's not just a quick activity you do for 20 minutes while sitting down. It's a way of living that changes everything. The Buddha taught 4 main parts of mindfulness, called satipatthana, as the direct route to feeling less pain. These ideas are not just fancy theories. They are clear ways to focus your attention that, when practiced regularly, help you break free from bad habits that cause suffering. The first part is being mindful of your body. This means really noticing what it feels like to be in your body, not just thinking about it, but actually feeling it. Right now, can you feel your feet, your hands, and the weight of your body wherever you're sitting or standing? Usually, we are so caught up in our thoughts that we hardly realize we have a body until something hurts. The Buddha taught a specific practice called anapanasati, which is mindfulness of breathing. This isn't about controlling your breath or making it special. It's just about feeling it as it is. Notice the air coming in through your nose or mouth, filling your lungs, and then flowing out again. Try it right now for 3 breaths. Focus on your breathing, in and out, in and out, in and out. What happened? Did your mind drift off? Did you find yourself thinking about something else? That's okay, our minds do that. The Buddha called this the monkey mind, jumping from thought to thought without resting. The goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to notice when your mind has wandered and gently guide it back again and again. Each time you do this, you're developing a new skill, the ability to stay present instead of lost in thought. Why the breath? Because it's always happening, always available, and can help you stay anchored in the present. Your breath isn't in the past or future, it exists only in the present moment. When you focus on your breath, you connect with reality as it truly is. The Buddha taught that you can also apply this practice to everything your body does, like walking meditation. Feel each step, the heel touching down, the weight shifting, the foot lifting. When you eat, pay attention to the colors, textures, flavors, and the actions of chewing and swallowing. Even simple tasks like doing dishes or brushing your teeth can become chances to be present when you really focus on what you're feeling. The second part is mindfulness of feelings. This doesn't mean emotions specifically, but rather recognizing whether an experience feels pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. When you taste something, you immediately get a slight feeling, pleasant if you enjoy it or unpleasant if you don't, neutral if it doesn't make a strong impression. The same goes for everything you see, hear, think, and feel. Why is this important? Because the Buddha explained that wanting and dislike come up at this stage. When you feel something good, you quickly want more of it. When you feel something bad, you immediately want it to leave. This all happens so quickly that you often don't realize it. But if you can notice this when it happens, just observing the good or bad feelings without trying to grab onto or push them away, you can stop the cycle that leads to suffering. The third part is being aware of your mind's emotional states. Recognize when your mind is angry, relaxed, distracted, focused, tight, or open. Don't judge these feelings or try to change them, just see them clearly. Anger is there, peace is there, confusion is there. This creates important space. Instead of saying I am angry, which makes anger part of who you are, you acknowledge that anger is there, which shows it's just a temporary visitor. This might seem like a small change, but it completely alters how you experience life. The fourth part is being aware of mental events, patterns, and teachings that come from your personal experience. This is where you start to notice that things are always changing. You see how wanting comes up and goes away, not just as ideas, but as actual experiences. All 4 parts share one thing: they keep you grounded in the present moment. Here's a big truth that the Buddha shared about time: the past is gone, the future hasn't come yet, and all we have is now. Your suffering usually doesn't exist in the current moment. Right now, in this moment, are you okay? Not thinking about what happened before or what could happen later, but right now. Do you feel your breath, the ground beneath you, and life moving through you? Usually the answer is yes. The trouble is often in your thoughts about the past or future, not in what's happening right now. The Buddha taught that the past and the future are made up by our minds, memories, and imagination. They are both helpful but not the same as what is real. When you're caught up in thinking about last week or next month, you're not really present. You're in a mental movie, and that's where a lot of suffering occurs. Being present stops the pattern of wanting and dislike. When you are really present, you notice thoughts coming up before you believe them. You feel emotions before they take over you. You catch impulses before you act on them. There's some space there, and in that space you can use wisdom instead of just reacting on instinct. This doesn't mean ignoring the past or the future. You can learn from what happened before and plan ahead, but you do it while staying grounded in the present. You remember the past without getting lost in it, and you think about the future without letting worry take you over. The key difference is your mindset while you do it. Now let's practice together for a moment. Focus on your breath right now. Don't try to change it, just feel it. Notice one complete breath in and out. Now broaden your focus to include sounds around you. Whatever noises you can hear, whether they are close or far away, loud or soft, just notice them without thinking too much about them. Now pay attention to your body feelings, any spots that feel tight or relaxed, the warmth or coolness, the sense of touch, and being present in your body right here and right now. This is what we call presence. It's an awareness of what is happening at this moment. This awareness is always there, but we often get distracted, lost in our thoughts about the past or future, or in our worries and desires. The more you practice coming back to this presence, the more you realize that true freedom is not far away or in the future. It exists right now in the simple act of being aware, being alive, and experiencing this moment without the influence of your thoughts on how things should be different. As you spend more time living in this state of presence, many things will start to change. Not because your life situation changes, but because your feelings towards those situations completely shift. If you're still following along, you are on a journey. You have already gone quite a distance understanding the idea of change, desire, and what it means to suffer. The Buddha shared with his followers, "I can show you the way, but you have to take the steps yourself." What we're about to discuss goes even deeper. Take a moment to breathe. We're going to go deeper now. Crisis is awakening. There's a stage on the spiritual journey that nobody really tells you about. Everything you thought you knew starts to break down. The things that used to make you feel calm now seem pointless. Your past life doesn't seem right anymore, but the new one hasn't come together yet. You feel stuck in a dark place, like you're falling. The Buddha was very familiar with this experience. Before he became enlightened, Siddhartha gave up everything, not just his fancy home and riches. He let go of who he thought he was, his purpose in life, and his ideas about what life meant. For 6 years, he searched for understanding by trying every method and teacher he could find, but nothing helped him. He pushed his body to the limit with strict practices. He reached deep levels of meditation called jhana, which are experiences beyond normal awareness. He could get to places of infinite space and awareness where the feeling of self and surroundings disappeared. However, when he came back from those deep states, his suffering was still there waiting for him. The jhana are real experiences, not made-up ones. When you focus deeply, you can go to amazing places where your sense of self seems to fade away and your mind expands beyond what you thought was achievable. Siddhartha became very skilled in these states. His teachers praised him and said he had reached the highest levels of achievement, but he felt that something important was still missing. These beautiful states were still not lasting and still came with conditions. He could stay in them for hours or even days, but then he would return to normal awareness, and the core issue of suffering was still there. It was like enjoying a fantastic vacation, but coming back home to find your house still burning down. He managed to reach the first jhana, which was a joyful and pleasurable state resulting from withdrawing from sense experiences. Then he reached the second jhana, where even thinking calmed down, leading to a feeling of unity of mind. The third jhana brought a deeper calm and satisfaction, while the fourth jhana created perfect stillness, surpassing both pleasure and pain. But he didn't stop there. He moved into formless realms, a space of infinite openness where all shapes fade away. Next, he entered the dimension of infinite awareness, where even space disappeared into pure consciousness. Then there was the dimension of nothingness, where consciousness itself disappeared. Finally, he reached the most subtle state, a place of neither awareness nor lack of awareness. His teachers told him this was the highest achievement, the peak of spiritual success. But Siddhartha saw clearly that these states were still temporary, lovely, peaceful, remarkable, but not true freedom. They came and went. The person who entered those states and came out was still caught in becoming, still part of the cycle. This realization that even the most beautiful spiritual moments did not lead to true liberation hit him hard. If none of these experiences brought freedom, then what could? Where else could he search? He had already tried everything. This part of his story isn't often mentioned, that the Buddha became enlightened not after achieving success, but after everything completely fell apart. He had tried so many things. Sitting by the river, weak and tired, he looked at his reflection and realized he hadn't made any progress towards freedom since he started. This moment of recognizing he had failed and admitting his confusion was significant. In Zen Buddhism, this is known as Daigi, which means the great doubt. It's not just wondering about this or that teaching, but a deeper questioning about everything until you feel completely lost. Zen teachers say that this big doubt can lead to a big awakening. However, you must be ready to let everything fall apart first. The struggle you face isn't a side step, it's a necessary part of the journey. Think about what happens when a snake sheds its skin. During that time, the old skin is loose, but the new skin isn't ready yet. The snake is vulnerable and caught in between, but this stage is important. Without it, it cannot grow. You might be experiencing something like this now. Maybe you've lost a relationship, a job, or a belief that once made your life meaningful. You could be questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself. Perhaps the spiritual practices that used to comfort you now feel empty and automatic. This isn't going backward, it's going deeper. There's an interesting story in Buddhist writings about a man named Angulimala. His name means finger garland, which comes from the necklace of fingers he collected from his victims. He was a serial killer, frightening everyone around him as he tried to reach a goal of killing 1,000 people as part of a twisted spiritual belief. Angulimala was once a bright student named Ames Saka who was known for being kind. His teacher, jealous of his talent and wanting to ruin him, gave him a terrible command. He told Ames Saka that to become spiritually perfect, he had to kill 1,000 people and bring back their fingers as proof. Believing this was genuine spiritual advice, Ames Saka became Angulimala and began his horrifying journey. By the time we hear about him, he had already killed 999 people and only needed one more to complete his goal. Everyone lived in fear of him, even his own mother was trying to warn him that the king's army was coming to catch him. In his madness, Angulimala decided that his mother would be his 1,000th victim. One day the Buddha walked into the forest where Angula hunted, even though people warned him not to go there. Entire groups of travelers avoided that path, but the Buddha went anyway. When Angulimala spotted him, he thought, "This is perfect, my final target, a lone monk apparently fearless, he will finish my practice." He took his sword and rushed after the Buddha, but something unusual happened. No matter how fast Angulimala ran, he couldn't catch up to the Buddha, who appeared to be walking calmly. Angulimala was a strong and fierce man in his youth, while the Buddha was just a middle-aged man walking peacefully. But the space between them stayed the same. This wasn't magic, it was Angulimala's own mind creating the distance. The Buddha was so different from anyone Angula had ever met that it made him stop, not in a physical way, but in a mental way. For the first time in a long while, something broke through his craziness. At last, Angulimala yelled, "Stop, monk." The Buddha turned and answered, "I have stopped." Angulimala replied, "You haven't stopped." "What are you talking about?" Angula asked. "You are still walking." The Buddha explained, "I have stopped hurting living beings. I have stopped hiding from the truth. I have stopped believing in the lies that cause pain." "But you are still running, still trapped in a cycle of harm, still thinking you are on the right path." At that moment, everything Angula believed fell apart. He had been running away from himself, from the truth, from reality his whole life. The Buddha's clear words broke through years of illusion. Angulimala dropped his sword, fell at the Buddha's feet, and requested to be made a monk. This is a big change coming from a crisis, not just a slow change, but a total breakdown followed by a new beginning. Angulimala's entire identity as a killer, as someone strong through violence, as someone who could decide life or death, had to end before he could be free. The Buddhist writings do not hide what happened next. Angulimala became a monk, but people recognized him. They threw stones at him, hit him, and spit on him. He had to face the results of his past actions. Even after changing, he would come back from his rounds with blood on his face, his clothes torn, and his bowl broken. The Buddha told him to be patient, that this was part of his karma coming into play, and that facing the results of his old actions was part of his journey. Angulimala accepted it. He practiced earnestly, never striking back, never defending himself, accepting whatever came his way calmly. The texts say he later reached complete freedom, becoming like an arrow in flight. His change was finished. The same applies to more subtle forms of identity. Maybe you have built who you are around being successful, needed, right, or spiritual. Whatever you have held on to feel secure and real, the path will eventually require you to let it go. This letting go can feel like dying. There's a Zen koan that says, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." This seems shocking, even disrespectful, but it points to something very important. You must also let go of your ideas about enlightenment, your beliefs about what awakening means. As long as you are trying to become something, even trying to be awakened, you are still holding on, still suffering. The phrase "kill the Buddha" means to let go of your thoughts about the Buddha, your dreams of what freedom looks like, your attachment to being spiritual. Real freedom has no form, it can't be grasped or defined. You can only truly see it by letting go of everything you believed it to be. This is why tough times often open new doors. When everything seems to break down, you can't cling to your old ways anymore. You are pushed to release what you've been holding on to. What feels like your world ending is actually a chance for freedom. But it's important to understand this. It's okay to feel lost. It's fine not to have answers. It's normal to feel like everything is crumbling around you. This doesn't mean you've failed. This is just part of the journey. The Buddha himself meditated for 49 days under the Bodhi tree before reaching full awareness. In Buddhist stories, it said he faced many challenges from Mara, who represents confusion, fear, and doubt. Mara threw everything at him, temptations, scares, and doubts about his worthiness. Mara questioned him, saying, "Who are you to seek enlightenment? What gives you the right? You're insignificant. Just give up this silly search." The Buddha didn't fight back against Mara. He didn't argue. Instead, he touched the ground and declared, "I am present. The earth testifies for me." That simple act of being there without running away or putting up a fight was his triumph. Your own struggles, no matter what they look like, are like your meeting with Mara. All of your fears and doubts will surface. All you need to do is stay present, touch the ground, and say, "I am here." Even when you're unsure about the future, beyond the dark times is a new beginning that you can't visualize while you're still in the darkness. You have to trust what's happening. You have to allow your old self to fade away. This isn't because something is wrong, but because something is finally becoming right. What you find in that darkness is a lesson the Buddha made clear. There's a natural order to everything, a rhythm you can rely on even if you can't see it. Dhamma, the natural law. The Buddha didn't say he created his teachings. Instead, he explained that he discovered them like someone finding an old path in a thick forest, a path that was always there just waiting to be walked again. He called this natural principle dharma, which explains how things truly are no matter what anyone believes or thinks. It's not a command from a higher power, but the fundamental nature of reality itself. In one talk, the Buddha mentioned, whether Buddhas come into being or not, this law remains. The truth of the Dharma, its order, that everything changes, that all things bring suffering, and that nothing has a permanent self. The Tathagata realizes this truth and breaks through to it. After that, he explains, teaches, shares, establishes, reveals, discusses, and clarifies it. Think about gravity. Gravity isn't just a rule someone made up. It's simply how the universe functions. You can choose to ignore it, deny it, or even try to go against it, but it continues to be in effect. The Dhamma works the same way. These teachings about change, about dependent origination, about what suffering is and how to stop it, these aren't just things to believe in. They are explanations of how things really work in the world. The Buddha mentioned that he understood the Dharma clearly, which means he saw the natural rules that govern everything that changes. When you see this truth, you can work with it instead of fighting against it. Everything in nature has its own timing and rhythm. Seeds don't grow just because you are in a hurry. Trees don't give fruit before it's time. Rain doesn't fall just because you want it. It comes when the conditions are right. This is svabha. It's the natural way of things. Everything happens based on its own nature. A mango tree grows mangoes, not apples. You can't rush or force it to make something different from itself. A mango seed has the full plan for how the mango tree will grow, like its height, leaf shape, and fruit taste. Good soil, enough water, and plenty of sunlight will help it thrive. But you can't speed its growth beyond what its nature allows. You can't force it to produce fruit in winter if it's supposed to do that in summer. This seems clear when we talk about trees, but we forget this when it comes to our lives. We often attempt to become something we are not, to achieve things before their time, and to skip important steps in our growth. Your life also follows these natural patterns, whether you realize it or not. You can't hurry your understanding. You can't rush healing. You can't skip important phases of growth. What you can do is set up good conditions, remove barriers, and then have faith in the process. There's a story about a farmer who planted seeds and then got impatient to see results. He checked them every day and pulled on the little plants to make them grow faster. Naturally, all the plants died. His hurry ruined what patience could have helped grow. This story shows up in many Asian wisdom teachings because it highlights something important about working with nature's rules. The farmer wasn't wrong for wanting his crops to grow. That's normal. He also wasn't wrong for looking after them. That's good farming. The mistake he made was thinking he could change when the plants were supposed to grow. He thought his worry was more important than the way life naturally unfolds. The farmer didn't trust the intelligence of the seed. The seed has everything it needs inside to grow, its genetic makeup, energy, and ability to respond to its surroundings. The seed knows how to become a plant. The farmer's job is not to make it grow, but to create a good environment for growth to happen naturally. How often do you treat your life similarly, pulling on the plants and trying to force things to happen, rushing through processes that require time? The Dharma teaches you to understand that some things just can't be rushed. The seed has its own way of growing. Your main job is to take care of the soil, give it water, let it soak up sunlight, and then just wait. This idea connects well to karma. The Buddha explained that karma develops in its own time. Some karma shows results pretty quickly. If you touch fire, you get burned right away. You can see and feel the impact of your actions immediately. Other karma takes a lot longer to show up, sometimes even years or lifetimes. The link between what you do and what happens isn't always clear, but it exists. The Buddha identified 4 kinds of karma ripening. First, there's karma that affects your current life. These are actions you notice the results of soon after you do them. For example, if you speak meanly to someone, you can see their sadness right away and feel bad yourself. Second, there's karma that shows its effects in the next life. These are results that won't happen until different situations come up later. Third, there's karma that takes place in later lives, which has long-term effects that need certain situations to develop. Fourth, there's karma that won't work at all. This is when actions don't have the right conditions to develop, like seeds landing on hard rock. You cannot rush or guess when or how the results will happen. All you can do is plant positive seeds now and trust they will grow when the time is right. The Buddha shared some deep insights about time. He said there are 4 types of people. Some move from darkness to darkness, some from darkness to light, some from light to darkness, and some from light to light. He pointed out that no one's path is set in stone. Change is always possible because everything acts according to cause and effect, not fate. Someone who has always lived badly can turn their life around. Their past actions will still have effects, that's just how the world works, but they can start making better choices right now. Angulimala Mara is an example of this. He changed from a horrible person, a killer, to a free spirit in just one life. This wasn't because his bad karma went away, but because he created strong new karma through sincere effort that changed his whole path. On the other hand, someone who has lived a good life can start to slack off and create negative karma, moving from light to darkness. The Buddha warned about this many times. If you don't keep up with your spiritual growth, you can lose it. Good character can fade if it's not cared for. The only thing that's certain is that actions lead to consequences. You're not stuck because of your past, but you can't ignore it either. The choices you've made are important and shape your present. Going forward isn't about pretending those choices don't exist, but understanding and working with them to gradually change your direction. This takes patience, which is often underrated on a spiritual journey. It's not just sitting around waiting, but actively practicing patience. You keep working on your practice day by day, even if you don't see changes right away. You hold on to your values, even when you don't get immediate rewards. You have to trust that your good actions will lead to good outcomes eventually. In their own time, natural law is not interested in your schedule or plans, it just reacts appropriately to situations. When you go with the flow of dharma instead of resisting it, everything gets simpler. This doesn't mean that life will stop throwing challenges your way, but you will stop making things harder than they need to be. You will start to feel that things are right as they are, even when things are tough. You will notice how natural law is guiding you, and you will learn to go with that current instead of swimming against it. This is what liberation meant to the Buddha. It doesn't mean escaping reality, but rather being deeply connected to it. Once you grasp this idea, you realize something even more basic. Your understanding of reality is influenced by your thoughts in ways you might not have fully understood. The very first verses of the Dhammapada Siddha mind as the forerunners say that the mind comes before everything. The mind is very important. Everything is created by the mind. If you talk or act with a troubled mind, then suffering will follow, just like a wagon wheel follows the footsteps of an ox. But if you talk or act with a calm mind, happiness will follow you like a shadow that's always there. This doesn't mean that the physical world isn't real or that you can get whatever you want just by thinking positively. The Buddha wasn't teaching an old version of the law of attraction. He was hinting at something deeper and more meaningful. Your thoughts shape how you perceive reality. 2 people can be in the exact same place and have totally different experiences. One person stuck in traffic feels angry and annoyed, while another feels relaxed and patient. The outside situation is the same, but their minds react differently to it. The Buddha talked about sankhara, which means mental formations, and how your mind builds and interprets experiences. Every moment, your mind takes in raw information from your senses and turns it into a story, a meaning, or an emotional reaction. Most of this happens automatically based on what you've learned in the past, but it's not set in stone. You can learn to observe this process and engage with it. Imagine 2 people walking through a forest as it gets dark. They both spot the same curled shape on the path ahead. One thinks it's a snake and fear kicks in. Their heart races, their muscles tighten, and they feel the urge to run. The other sees a rope and feels no fear, just curious observation. When they get closer and find out it's indeed a rope, both had mental formations, not an objective reality. The first person's fear was real, but it all came from how their mind interpreted the situation. The Buddha used the example of the rope and the snake in his lessons to explain how perception works. The rope isn't scary on its own. The imagined snake never really existed, but the fear felt was definitely real, causing physical reactions and emotional distress, maybe even lasting memory. All of this came from how the mind created it. There's a tale about a king who wanted to walk without shoes everywhere, but he found the ground too rough and hurt his feet. He chose to cover all the roads in his kingdom with soft leather to make his feet feel better. However, it would cost a lot and take many years. Plus, he wouldn't be able to cover every single path, every forest trail, and every rocky area in his whole kingdom. His smart advisor offered an easier idea. Instead of covering the roads, why not just put leather on his own feet? And that's how shoes were created. This shows how using your brain is important. You can't control everything around you. You can't make the world completely comfortable. You can't stop all challenges, but you can change how you deal with what comes your way. You can change your relationship with your experiences by changing your thoughts. The Buddha talked about this change as altering your daki, which is your perspective, the way you see everything. Right view, the first part of the Eightfold Path, isn't just about having the right beliefs. It's about seeing things clearly without being influenced by wants, dislikes, or misunderstandings. When your perspective changes, everything changes. You might still be in the same body in the same situation, but your feelings and experiences will be completely different. This is how changes inside us lead to changes on the outside. It's not by changing what's around us, but by changing the way we think about those things. The Buddha explained that there are 10 chains that tie us to suffering. The first 3 are how we see ourselves, our doubts, and our attachment to rules and traditions. All these 3 are about having a wrong perspective, about seeing things in a messed up way. When you get rid of these first 3 chains, you become a stream enterer, someone who is on the path to freedom. This doesn't always take years of practice. Sometimes it's just about changing how you see things. Identity view is about thinking that there is a permanent and unchanging self. When you see clearly that what you think of as I is actually a process that flows like a river, not a hard stone, then the first chain is broken. Doubt means being unsure about whether what you're doing really helps. When you see the truth for yourself, even just once, your doubt fades away. Holding on to rules and ceremonies means thinking that just these outside actions can free you without realizing that true change happens in your mind. Those practices are there to help you. Take a moment to think about one thought in your head. It could be a judgment, like deciding if something is good or bad. It might be a story about who you are, like saying, I'm the type of person who. Or it could be an idea about how things ought to be. Just pay attention to it. Notice how your mind shapes your experience from one moment to the next. When you clearly see this, you can feel a great sense of freedom. You won't feel stuck by your thoughts anymore because you understand they are just thoughts and not the complete truth. You also won't get thrown around by every feeling because you know that feelings are like the weather in your mind, not what defines who you are. This doesn't mean you become lazy or uncaring. Instead, you become more aware and able to respond rather than react. You can still fully participate in life, but with a clearer mindset rather than feeling confused. As you grow in this understanding, you'll realize that you're not on this journey all by yourself. Spiritual friendship. The Buddha's helper Ananda once said to him, Sir, having spiritual friends is half of the spiritual journey. The Buddha quickly replied, No, Ananda, spiritual friendship is everything in the spiritual life. This is not what most people think of when they hear about enlightenment. We often picture monks alone meditating in caves or people searching for truth all by themselves. But the Buddha taught that we awaken through our connections with others. The Buddha himself learned from other instructors. Before he became enlightened, he studied with 2 meditation experts, Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputa, who taught him deep focus techniques. He didn't reach full liberation from them, but their lessons were important for his journey. He respected these teachers for the rest of his life, recognizing that his awakening was built on what they had taught him. When Alara Kalama passed away, the Buddha spoke about him with great respect, saying that if his teacher had lived to hear the complete teachings, he would have quickly understood and found liberation. This shows humility. Even the enlightened Buddha acknowledged that his knowledge was partly based on what others had provided. No one walks this path completely alone. Even the Buddha, after his awakening, immediately went to find his 5 previous friends to share what he had learned. For 45 years, he taught and formed the Sangha, a community of practitioners. He understood that freedom is experienced individually but is supported by the group. The Buddha referred to the Sangha as one of the 3 jewels, along with the Buddha and the Dharma, which are vital for the journey. Leaning on the Sangha doesn't mean that you have to rely on others to become enlightened. It means acknowledging that you need help, guidance, and the support of relationships. Think about the people in your life right now. Every single one is a teacher in their own way, whether they realize it or not, and whether you recognize it or not. A friend who listens without judging helps you understand what compassion means. A challenging family member teaches you about being patient and setting limits. A kind stranger can show you that people can be really good. Even people who hurt you can be teachers too. This doesn't mean you need to stay in bad relationships or put up with being treated badly. Instead, you can see that tough people reveal your limits, how you react, and the parts of you that still need healing. They give you a chance to practice what Buddha taught in ways that easier relationships don't. Kalana Midata refers to a special kind of friendship that helps each other grow spiritually and support each other's awakening. It's not just about liking each other or having fun interests. It's about helping one another to stay aware, honest, and on the right track, especially during tough times. Buddha talked about 4 traits of a spiritual friend. They help you avoid doing bad things. They encourage you to do good deeds. They teach you things you might not know, and they guide you on your way to freedom. These friends don't just tell you what you want to hear. They share what you need to know, being kind but honest too. Real spiritual friendship means both helping and challenging each other. A true friend won't let you mislead yourself, won't support your wrong ideas, and won't act like everything is okay when you're causing pain to yourself or others. But they also won't judge you, leave you alone in tough times, or take advantage of your weaknesses. Finding this kind of friendship is rare and special. Buddha also talked about good friendships versus bad ones. Friends who are harmful guide you toward making bad choices, support your wrong ideas, and encourage your worst behaviors. Good friends inspire you to be better, show your best qualities, and push you to grow. One of the most important decisions you can make on your journey is to choose your friends carefully. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever, and that's totally okay. Some friends are with you for many years, sharing the entire journey together. Others might come into your life just for a short chat, a moment that changes everything, and then they leave. Both types of encounters are valuable. Buddha taught that it's important to let go with gratitude. When someone's role in your life is done, you don't have to hold on or feel lonely. You can be thankful for what you shared and allow them to continue on their own journey. This is love without holding on tightly. It means appreciating the connection while accepting that it has its natural flow, and you are also a teacher to someone else. Whether you mean to or not, your presence in other people's lives is important. How you speak, the choices you make, and how you pay attention all influence those around you. You are part of a web of spiritual friendship, offering support even if you don't notice it. The Sangha, in its deepest meaning, is not just about a group of monks or even Buddhists. It includes everyone who is truly seeking freedom, truth, and love, recognizing each other on that journey, supporting one another, and learning as they go each other. This is how the lessons continue from one generation to the next. However, in the end, even the greatest teachers and friends can only guide you. The last step on your journey needs something totally different, which is a deep sense of letting go. Vasagga, the letting go. At a certain moment on your journey, you must let go of even the path you are following. The Buddha shared a story about a raft. Picture that you have to cross a wide river. You create a raft using logs and branches, and it helps you reach the other side safely. Once you are across, would you carry that raft on your back for the rest of your trip? Of course not. You would leave it behind, thankful for what it did, but knowing its purpose is finished. The Buddha mentioned, when you understand the teachings to be like a raft, you should let go of even good lessons, how much more the bad ones. This is a big deal. He's stating that even his own teachings are just tools to help you, not truths to hold on to forever. This idea of letting go means fully releasing what you have. It's not about losing things carelessly or giving up your practice. Instead, it's about being gentle with what you hold so that nothing keeps you from moving forward. You can use tools without getting too attached to them. You can follow teachings without tying them to who you are. You can practice without the practice becoming something you cling to. There's a well-known Zen story about a student who approached a master with a teacup, wanting it to be filled with wisdom. The master started pouring tea and kept going even when the cup was overflowing and spilling everywhere. The student shouted, "Stop, the cup is full." The master replied, "Like this cup, you're filled with your own thoughts and beliefs. How can I teach you anything if you don't first empty your cup?" This story is found in reliable Zen texts and shows an important lesson about learning and growing. You cannot accept new knowledge if your mind is full of old certainties. You cannot understand clearly if you believe you already have all the answers. Letting go is about emptying your cup over and over. But emptying doesn't mean you carelessly discard everything. It's more like taking care of old ideas. You let go of what you've been keeping, but you do it thoughtfully and with purpose, allowing it to change into something that helps new growth. The Buddha said not to cling to anything, not your opinions, not your practices, not your states of mind, and not even the idea of enlightenment. The moment you hold on to anything, even something good, you set up the chance for pain. This might be the most puzzling lesson. You must practice hard, but without being attached to what comes from it. You have to walk the path genuinely, but without holding on to the idea of being on any path. You need to grow wise, but also let go of even the need to be wise. Wise. Imagine it like trying to train a wild horse. If you're too rough, the horse will fight back. If you're too easygoing, the horse might go out of control. You need to be firm and gentle at the same time, guiding without forcing. Eventually, the horse and its rider will move together smoothly. There is no need to push or try to control, just a natural and flowing movement. The Buddha described it differently. He said, right effort is like holding a bird. If you hold it too tight, you will hurt it. If you hold it too loosely, it will escape. You need to hold on just enough to keep the connection without causing any harm. This is what Vasagga means, being present but not holding on tightly, being involved but not attached. This is what Vagga enables you to do. It lets you move through life smoothly without the stress of needing to hold on or push things away. The freedom this brings is unlike anything else. It's not just being able to do whatever you want, that's really being controlled by your impulses. True freedom is when you don't have to defend anything, prove anything, or strive to become something. You can participate in life fully because you're not trying to find safety from it. The Buddha spoke about several stages of letting go. First, you let go of clear harmful things, actions that hurt you and those around you. Then you let go of deeper attachments like your preferences and opinions or the desire to always be right. Next, you release good things that still keep you tied down, even helpful thoughts if you cling too much to them. Finally, you let go of the very act of letting go. You set free the one who is trying to release until there's just an open awareness without any fixed point right now in this moment. You can try this yourself. Take something you are holding on to. It might be a belief about yourself, a plan for what's to come, an idea you've been defending, or even how you understand these teachings. Can you ease your grip just a bit, not to throw it away or dismiss it, just to hold it a little more lightly? See what happens when you do this. You might feel scared. There could be fear that if you don't hold tightly, everything will come crashing down, but beneath that fear there is something more, a vast openness. A sense of peace that doesn't rely on controlling anything. This openness is your true self. It's not something you have to create or achieve, it's something you discover by letting go of what hides it, like the sky that's always there behind clouds. You don't create the sky by removing clouds, you just reveal what has always been there. The last words of the Buddha to his followers were, "All conditioned things are subject to decay, strive on with diligence." Even as he faced death, he didn't offer them something to cling to or some final truth to hold on to. Instead, he directed them back to their own efforts and the truth of how everything changes. This is the heart of Vaga. Everything ends, everything shifts, and everything must eventually be released, including your life, this moment, and even the person reading or listening right now. Words, everything comes into being, stays for a little while, and then goes away. In this reality, strangely enough, there is complete calm. When you stop struggling against change and let go of your tight hold on things that can't be kept, you find out that you don't need to cling to anything. You can relax and go with the flow, trusting the way things naturally are and knowing you belong to something huge and perfect just as it is. This is freedom. It's not some faraway place, not a future moment, and it's not about achieving or learning or becoming something. It's right here in the simple act of letting go and accepting life as it is. Your journey has led you to this moment and this realization. Maybe now you can understand that there was never anywhere else to be. You were always already at home. Everything happens because of certain reasons and situations. Nothing is just random since everything follows natural laws. Still, nothing is set in stone because new reasons can create new situations at every moment. This is the dance of freedom. It's about working with what is true while shaping what will come. It's based on understanding, pushed by kindness, and free from the desire to control. The Buddha's last message is clear: be your own guide, trust in your own practice, your own understanding, and your own awakening. The path is present, the truth is present, freedom is present. And as you walk this path, embody this presence, and live this truth, you are already complete. The light you already are. You are not the same person who started this journey. Something has changed, even if it's small. The Buddha said that everything comes from causes and conditions. During our time together, new conditions have formed. New understanding has taken root. Nothing happens by accident. Everything follows the natural laws of cause and effect. The fact that you are here now listening to these final words is also a result of many causes going back through time. The last thing the Buddha told his students was simple yet deep: be your own light. Don't search outside yourself for what can only be found inside. The wisdom you found today isn't new to you, it's your own true nature recognizing itself. And practice isn't a burden, it's a way to live. Start with one easy practice. Think about mindfulness from the Eightfold Path. Just pay attention to your breath for 3 breaths every morning. That's it. Let everything else grow from there. The Buddha's invitation was always to check it out for yourself. Don't just believe or accept things without questioning. Explore, practice, and discover. If you found one insight today, maybe share it in the comments below. Your thoughts might be the lesson someone else needs to hear. We're all on this journey together, helping one another. If you want to keep going on this journey, you're always welcomed here. May everyone find freedom from pain. I hope everyone experiences tranquility. I wish for you to move forward with understanding and kindness. The journey is in your hands now.